University of Vijaya. He is on the Faculty of Technology there and is also a very prominent open access advocate. He'll be talking about open access scholarly publishing in North Africa today. I would also like to thank our other sponsors for this talk. They are the UNC Office of Research and the Office of Research Communications and the UNC Center for the Middle East and Islamic Studies. I first met Kamal when he was in Chapel Hill in 2018 as part of a cohort for the Triangle Scholarly Communications Institute, and really opened my eyes to a deeper understanding of the challenges of scholars in parts of the world where English is not the primary first language. And so as we thought about having a speaker who could speak about equity and participation for all in the scholarly process and in open access, I thought of him, and I'm very grateful that he has agreed to speak to us today. Oh, I should also tell you that if you have questions, please put them in the chat. We'll be monitoring the chat for questions at the end of his talk. Thanks.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. So I'm very happy to meet you today. Professor Anne Genardo, Scholarly Communication Officer from University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Also, Dr. Kathy Fanfani for this kind invitation. So I am very happy to meet you and during this Open Access Week. So today we will speak about open access scholarly publication, especially in Northern African country. So about challenges and opportunities. So overview, we will talk about investment and the scholarly publication in North African country. And also we will speak about open access in more widely adopted and accepted within certain disciplines than others. Open scholarly publishing initiative in North Africa, also North African country, and also we speak about challenges of open access scholarly publication in North Africa country, equity business model for open access scholarly publication in North Africa. As you know, free versus open. Open means anyone can freely access, use, modify, and share for any purpose. Subject at most required that preserve provenance and openness. So openness has a wider meaning than just something that is available for free. There is a width of free to view content available online, but the majority of this content is not free to use. So open, for example, we have a lot of open. There is the open license, open citation, open collaboration, open users, open policies, open APC. So open is very wide. And for example, open license used by scholarly publication is open license collaboration, development, access, and inspiration from your work, creative work, without requiring you to give up the rights automatically granted to you for creation. So this is kind of a license, policies. Also, there is some open policies, incitation, users, so many kinds. There are a number of reasons why there is an emphasis on open access now, because the prevalence of digital delivery and the omnipresence of the internet means that new way of doing things are possible. New challenge, new knowledge is created through global collaboration involving thousands of people from across the world, and from all the walk of life. Open access opens up a new way in which research, education, innovation are undertaken, archived, and created and disseminated across the globe. So a lot of things are around this open access. So the importance of open access, especially for scholars from North Africa. So it enable North African scholars have access to high quality peer-reviewed articles, enable research across the globe, have access to articles published by North African researcher, helps improve the visibility, impact, and citation of North Africa researcher, increase sharing, increase data availability, Africa also for global. So we have to speak investment and scholarly publication in North Africa country. As you know, North Africa country is Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt. Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia are Francophone spoken language. However, Libya and Egypt are Anglophone. So the gap of language in those three countries like Morocco, Algeria, and limited the access for scholarly publication in other language, for example, in English than in Libya and Egypt. So education in North Africa country, most universities in Northern African country provided the free and open learning. Most of universities in Northern African country are public, and 100% universities are public in Algeria. Instead, for example, Egypt, there are some private universities. So courses that can be found with and without logging into their module learning platforms. So studies are 100% free of charge in those public universities. Means that finance is secured by the government. So study and access to for a platform are in those public universities are free of charge. So we have studied by looking to the Simago country ranking for scholarly publication in North Africa. We can see that the top 6 countries are from the North Africa in order of the publication in the period from 96 till 2020. So we can find the top one is South Africa, but top 2 till top 6 are the North African country. So a lot of publication open and closed, published in closed and open access journals. So by looking to this graph, we can see that the data by country is are cited by, for example, for North African countries. So a lot of publication from those countries here is Nigeria, but 3 is for Algeria, Tunisia, and Morocco. We can see here the high publication with the Hirsch index for Egypt and South Africa. So as you see that most publications in Africa are from the North Africa. So by looking in this graph from 96 till 20, you can see that the progress in open access in Africa for example, in 2020, there are about 42% of documents are published open access in 22, especially during this pandemic. So a lot of journals shift for open access journal. So open access is more widely adopted and accepted within certain disciplines than others. For example, in Algeria, we can see from this graph that scholar or researcher prefer publishing in scientific and technology journals. So a lot of publication around the engineering, biochemistry, genetic, but however, for human science and social science, very limited, because for most of research published in technical and scientific journals than in social science. Also for Tunisia, in the period 2020-2021, for 1 year, most of publication are from mathematics, medicine, and energy and social science, limited of number. The same in Egypt. So science, technology, and medicine, the high quality articles are submitted to international scholarly journals, paywalls, or gold open access with a high impact factor, because they need for their CV and for better career opportunities. However, humanities and social science published mainly in local journal, so urgent to increase the impact globally for those kind of journal. Difficulty to publish in prestige journal, as I told that for North African, as they are French spoken language, there are a language barrier. So the access to prestige journal is very difficult. North African research prefer to publish their papers in European journal with an impact in order to achieve certain personal goals, better career opportunities, CV fortification, and the publication fees, especially in those journals for scholarly journal, are increasing dramatically year by year. This is the gap, and this is the challenge for those kind of open access journals. So the most common misconception about open access in North Africa country, we can see that open access is free for everyone, but in reality, publishing open access is costly, because gold open access journal APC still need to be covered by a researcher, their institution, or their funder. So people think that open access is free everyone is a misconception. Open access articles are low quality, because a lot of researchers in North Africa prefer to publish in closed or open access their work or their research will be copied or distributed or published with other people with the other name. Open access means losing control of your intellectual property. So a lot of people, a lot of research worry to publish in open access because some research fear that publishing an open access article means that the material is not protected by any form of copyright. So the lack of copyright or Creative Commons license of publisher, also of authors, so limited the publication in an open access journal. Open access benefits only the public, not researcher. The increased visibility of a published article often leads to increased citation frequency because as the article or publication are visible, so many the citation will be increased. Open access journal platform initiative from North Africa, Science 2015. A lot of platform were launched. So I have to see only 3 important platforms. Those platforms aims to bridge the digital gap, improve scientific advancement, research visibility, especially for researchers from North Africa, provide knowledge resource for increased ETC literacy in the North African region. As I told you that the most important platform, open access, there is the Algerian Scientific Journal platform and the portal of Moroccan Scientific Journals, Egyptian journal platform. So I start with the Algerian Scientific Journal platform. So in this platform, in this Algerian Scientific Journal platform, there are about 700 open access journals. Science only 5 years ago. So the government of Algeria, the Ministry of Higher Education, stopped providing a fund for printed journal. So they ask all printed journal must be launched as open access journal and must be indexed in this platform. So policy for open access journal in Algeria, the National Commission for the Validation of Algerian Scientific Journal lists about 700 journals. So for printed journal must be indexed in the platform as open access journal. All those 700 journals without APC, no APC for those open access journal. Journal staff, editor-in-chief are all volunteer, are faculty academic member or researcher. Work is not explicitly recognized in tenure and promotion guidelines. The second important platform in North Africa is Egyptian journal platform. In this platform, we can find also about 700 open access journals. And the number of English journal in this platform is about 378. So very important, because as I said, Egypt is platform is portal of Moroccan scientific journals. Is about 176 open access journal. Is a portal de revue scientifique Marocaine. So this is a portal of Moroccan scientific journal. This platform use open journal source OJS. All journal are managed by OJS. However, for Algerian platform, this is a specific platform developed by Algerian computer science engineer, and for Egyptian, the platform is IKI in NITO, is journal management systems. So what worked for those platform? The free and open platform for education, for educator, student, and researcher, and support their international impact. Share, remix, collaborate, build open access journal and open communities. Editors, publishers are confident about the quality content they deliver. Open access journal offer tangible benefit to researcher, sustainability through sharing the responsibility and efforts, because I told you that, for example, for Algerian scientific platform, all the staff are volunteering for the moment. There is no compensation. So editors or editor-in-chief works for those journal for free. The researcher make the leap from passive learning to an active expression of knowledge. The digitize, create, and share major collection of archives, taking into account the local publication. So all content free to copy, to modify, to distribute. Almost of those platforms use the CC license, and the most license used is CC BY. So the articles can be shared widely for researcher and globally. Now I wanted to talk about the challenges of open access scholarly publication in North Africa countries. So what didn't work during this pandemic? So during 2 years, there is in the bracket a digital fatigue, digital a lot of platforms and education, all things are online. So what didn't work for those to act or to see those platforms? The lack of ETC infrastructure, especially in the North Africa country. The lack of support and of experience for answering the quality and the transparency of the editorial process had perturbed the open access publishing in North Africa. Most of staff behind those journal, open access journal, are volunteers. So the lack of knowledge of publishing online and irregularity for some journal publication, the lack of visibility globally. The North doesn't read what is published by the South, or especially North Africa country. As I give as an example from three platform open access journals. About now there are about 1,050 open access journals published in North Africa. Only 120 open access journals are indexed in the WASH. So the visibility and visibility for those journals is very limited, because lack of knowledge of publishing online and some other as I told you, the the problem with the business model for those journals. So during development of those open access journal, there are some issue with this open access journal. So predatory publishing is the dark side of open access. The root cause of this proliferation can be attributed to the rise of university ranking and other performance indicator driven issues. So as we ask for example, a PhD student to publish in class journal with high impact factors, and also as I told you, the researcher in a North African country prefer publish their article in the North because they need more visibility and for their academic CV. So the development of open access journal limited, and some predatory journal are developed and promise an easy outlet for those looking to publish, because as you know, young researcher and non-native speaker of English might be anticipated by those opportunities to get an extra publication on their academic CV by publishing their article in those predatory journals. So some region in Africa, some country are known as I mean that they publish a lot of open access journal, predatory journals, especially, for example, in Nigeria and also in South Africa. However, in North Africa, as I told you, for example, in Algeria, all open access journal are under the control of the government, so are indexed in this platform. So the number of predatory journal are very limited, because open access there is no fees and no APC for those published open access journal. The peer review process is in name only, and almost any publisher. As I told you, most of them are volunteers and additional work without any remuneration. For small publishing organizations such as library publisher, societies, university press, or single journal, metadata generation and distribution can be time-consuming manual effort. Sometimes important information is left out simply due to technical restriction. Local issues, especially languages, are neglected, and there are indigenous language that don't have an internet presence, and there is no keyboard for those indigenous languages. Also, other gap or concern of those journals is low bandwidth and the poor connectivity in some region in North Africa, electricity and workspace. As you know, that the coronavirus surprised all of us. COVID pandemic seems to have changed the social context of education and learning. So many libraries, publisher, societies, university presses, or single journals show the desire to move to a new way of publishing open access journals. So the open access publishing during this COVID-19 pandemic is rapidly developed in North Africa, especially in North Africa, also globally, I think. The difficulties and the pressure to publish in prestige journals, and also appropriate business model should be promoted that allows equity in scholarly publication in those journals published in North Africa. So some difficulty to change mentalities, especially for the old generation, because there is a gap between the new generation and the old generation. So new generation are well connected, and the research are adapted for new technologies. Instead, the old generation that they have used printed journal or publication as printed. So our recommendation is globally equity business model for open access scholarly publication in North Africa country. This business model based on waiver program taking in consideration geography. So as you know that almost gold open access journals and in North or globally, they ask for fees, and till now, for example, scholars don't get any fund to have to publish their article in those open access. So the authors or researchers prefer to publish in closed journal than open access journal, because fees cannot paid by those authors or those researchers. For example, some publisher ask for 2,000 or $3,000 per articles. So, for example, in Europe or in other, for example, in North America, some institutions the fees can authors don't pay any fees. The fees adjusted based on the institution location. The institutions that are in high incomes country, as defined by the World Bank classification by income level, pay the highest fees. Institutions from upper middle income country pay lower fees, and institutions from lower and lower middle country pay the lowest set of fees. So this global equity can help open access journal to be promoted and to be more visible globally, because as I told you that a lot of journals start for 2 years or 3 years and then they disappears because there is no fund for those journal. And for example, I told you the experience in Algeria, about 700 journals, open access journal launched during last 5 years. However, till now there is no fund, only the hosting. Almost of those open access journal are hosted at the homepage of the university or faculties or laboratories. So the hosting or, for example, managing of those journals are for free, but in reality, there is the staff need, for example, for managing, they need some compensation to have sustainable journals. So our in conclusion, several open access journal initiatives were launched in North Africa region and have been engaged in reforming their scholarly publication process. Some initiatives have not been successful because they are focused more on the technical aspect than on the content. They require the involvement and the commitment of their institution and the scientific community to ensure their sustainability. Equity business model is needed to help open access scholarly publication in North Africa. Thank you very much for
there I am. Okay, thank you so much. It is interesting to see what challenges we both face in this part of the world, and which ones are more acute in Northern Africa. Now's the time for questions, and I thought I would start things out by asking one myself, while some of the rest of you think of questions if you have them. And that is, I myself am an unpaid journal editor for an open access journal, and so I feel for people who have been doing this for a long time with no compensation, and not that I'm complaining, but do you think that there is that is a sustainable path forward for open access journals in North Africa?
As I told you in the last, there is a promise in Europe outside nothing. For example, in North Africa, for the moment, there is no business model. So it is time to develop and implement more equitable business model. So till now, for example, I give the experience for open access journal in North Africa. All of them are volunteer. As for example, I am editor-in-chief of Algerian Journal of Open Access, Algerian Journal of Natural Products. So maybe after this pandemic, we think to adopt new models, and this global equity business model can help scholarly publishing in North Africa to support this idea. So high-income countries can contribute to waive those APC, because the gap, for example, for those researcher from North Africa cannot pay $1,000. It's about two months of salary or 3 months for. It's very high, so they cannot pay, and the only way is to create a fund, and maybe the North can help the South. As I told you that we shift, or the low income countries cannot contribute to this fund, but the fund can come from the North.
Thank you. Yes. I know that some people, including me, have been advocating for open access for a long time. We've seen, victories and successes, and we've seen setbacks. What keeps you motivated to work as an open access advocate?
As I told you that the people, for the moment, it depends. For example, in North Africa, researchers prefer to now, because maybe there is a lobbying of some, I told in the bracket, the big five publisher. So during this pandemic, a lot of open access journal from those big publisher shift to open access. But however, those journals are with a very, very high APC.
Yes.
And we cannot, scholars or researchers from North Africa cannot publish their article in those journals, but they prefer to publish in closed journal than open access journal, because as I told you, closed, they don't ask for APC, and however, I have already published in closed journals, and I cannot go get my article. I have to pay my article. For example, when I want to ask to download my article, I have to pay about $35 or $40 to publish, and I think it's not correct, because the research is funded by a public fund, and at least this research scholarly publication need to be open for all. So our ideas are to have equity business model for helping those starting journal to be more visible globally.
Yes. We have a question from our library director, Elaine Westbrooks, and she writes, many people say that there is enough money in the system from payees, university grants, funders, to cover the total costs of publishing. Do you agree? In your context, is there enough money to support a shift away from subscriptions?
I think so, because, for example, to access for article from five big publisher, you have to subscribe to those platforms, for example, Wiley, Elsevier, and those platforms are very costly. So why we help those open access journal to shift the APC, and to help those journal, and to cover all the costs. So I agree that there are a lot of enough money in the system to cover the open access journals publishing. So APC can be waived by making this fund for those journals. But the problem is how to distribute this fund, because maybe we have to put some indicators, maybe the visibility, or a number of connectivity, or you have to make some parameters or some criteria how to distribute those funds for open access journals. Yeah, yes. It's also very difficult. So it's other problems.
Yeah, a lot of details to solve, many details. Do we have any other questions from people out there in internet land? I have one more question. Yeah. So as you spoke, I thought anew again about how so many of us in this part of the world only read certain certain journals from our own, environment, from our own milieu. And I was wondering if you had any suggestions besides just sitting down and looking for more information outside of the usual sources for us to start expanding our reading to other parts of the globe, to the research and communications from other parts of the globe.
I think the gap is, as I said in my presentation, that the problem that the North doesn't read what is written in the South. So how to be visible for those journals? I think it's we need the equity and more visibility for those open access journal from the South. Maybe the lack of publication online, and also the business models, and sometimes we have problem with the majority of staff is not adapted or are not from are not librarian. So there is a lack of knowledge how to manage and to engage some journal with the high quality, because the gap is some journal or reputable open access journal have the following standard: access to peer review, and they don't respect those some standard access. For example, offer standard article fees scheduled for public review. Also, the journal has a strong, well-defined editorial scope, because you have to have specific, because a lot of journals are published especially in technology. However, for human science and especially in local language, we find very few journals, because they prepare printed or closed journal than and till now the human science are journals are very I mean that are not visible globally, because maybe the problem with the local or specific studies. For example, if I have to study the social life for African people, maybe people from Europe or North Africa are not interested. Or if I am interested in some indigenous region in North Africa, so people, this is specific studies. So is not those studies are not I mean visible globally.
Yes.
So why we have a lot of journal in technology than in social science, in humanities particularly.
Yes, yes. Well, I think speaking with you has made me think anew about reading more broadly internationally, to the extent I am able, as a person who mostly whose facility in languages other than English is poor. And I really appreciate your speaking with us today and providing some insight into the open access environment in a world that is in some ways very different from ours, and in others very, very much the same. If there are no further questions, we'll be ending just a few minutes early. And please, thank you so much for taking the time during Open Access Week to talk with us and to bring a new point of view to many of us. Thank you.
I thank you also for a very kind invitation. I am very happy to meet you and to share some knowledge about scholarly publication in North Africa. I have to share with you because my presentation is CC BY, so I have to send you the link for my publication, for my presentation, and you can share for
Excellent.
yeah.
Thank you so much again.
Thank you very much. So happy to meet you, and maybe another time.